Thank you, Mr. Salters. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Erica Bissell, as well as she's our Reading and Language Arts Coordinator, and Jessica Bizard, our Academic Assistance, Early Childhood, and Title I Coordinator. And they are going to present to you, one of the things that we've been talking about on an ongoing basis is the early childhood centers that we're working on in Gilbert and the Pillion communities. So we just want to give you a quick update on that and answer any questions you might have. Dr. Bissell?
Thank you, Dr. Little, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here with you tonight to provide an update on the Gilbert and Pillion Early Childhood Centers. And please do forgive, we're going to try to tag team this, and we'll see how seamlessly we can do that with masks and 2 microphones. And a clicker. So let's see. All right. So there are many reasons for opening early childhood centers in Lexington 1. First, you are very familiar with in 2018, we passed a bond referendum that included selective demolition and repurposing of 2 sites, the previous Gilbert High School / Gilbert Elementary School campus and previous Pillion Middle School campus. The repurposing of the 2 sites will allow us to establish early childhood centers and relocate preschool programs currently housed at Gilbert Elementary School, Centerville Elementary School, and Pillion Elementary School. The second reason why early childhood centers are going to be a very important piece of our future here in Lexington 1 is because of the requirement of Act 284, Read to Succeed, for districts to assess and to respond to data related to kindergarten readiness, which essentially looks at how prepared students are for entering kindergarten. We can bolster kindergarten readiness by offering high-quality early childhood experiences. The law also requires districts to strive to have all students reading on grade level by 3rd grade, as well as to form strong family and community partnerships. These are also things that we can accomplish by opening early childhood centers in Lexington 1. Third, the benefit of quality early childhood experiences cannot be underestimated as a predictor of future academic success. Thus, early childhood must continue to be a focus in Lexington 1. And finally, by opening 2 early childhood centers in Lexington 1, we can increase our preschool offerings through the addition of preschool classrooms.
Okay, so we're going to talk for a minute about the project timeline. All right, so we're going to go back for a minute to 2019-20. Let's all reflect on how things were, before pre-pandemic. So as a reminder, we started in 2019 with the research of building design, programming, and then also interactive experiential opportunities for children. And then last school year, we also proposed to adding an additional 1.0 FTE 4K teacher at Centerville Elementary for this academic year, the 2020-2021 school year. And we were able to do that.
So this year, we are continuing to research early childhood programs, approaches, classroom design, as well as Gilbert and Pillion community needs. We've also been planning for a preschool inclusion initiative that will bridge special education and general education preschool programs. We are currently working with architects to design and develop renderings of the Gilbert Early Childhood Center on the previous Gilbert High School and Gilbert Elementary School campus. And this spring, we will engage the Gilbert community in 2 ways. We'll work with community leaders to organize a Gilbert community celebration of the campus history. And though there will be many more details to come, we do know that with this will include tours of the campus. And we will also have conversations with groups in the Gilbert community, such as current preschool teachers at Centerville and Gilbert Elementary School, community leaders, existing Gilbert school staff at the elementary schools, middle, and high school, as well as the SIC at Gilbert Elementary School in Centerville, so that we can discuss ways to leverage the campus to enhance the community alongside the Early Childhood Center. So moving into next year, we will complete renovations of the previous Gilbert High School, Gilbert Elementary School campus. We will present a staffing proposal as well as other budget considerations for the Gilbert Early Childhood Center, which is projected to open in August of 2022. And we will also finalize the building design and begin renovations of the previous Pillion Middle School campus.
Okay, so since the Gilbert Early Childhood Center is opening first, we're going to shift for the next few slides to some Gilbert-specific information. And then during a future update, we will provide the same information for the Pillion Early Childhood Center. So what you see here on this slide is the current service impact and then the future service impact of the Gilbert Early Childhood Center. So currently, in this school year, 2020-2021, we house 6 preschool classrooms across Gilbert Elementary and Centerville Elementary that now serve a total of 115 students. We have capacity across those 6 programs to serve 132 students. And the difference is the ability to be able to serve more special education students as those children are identified. For the 2021-2022 school year, we do not plan on adding in any additional FTE or classrooms, so we'll remain at the 6 preschool classrooms. And then we'll continue that into 2022-2023, which will be the Gilbert Early Childhood Center projected opening year. We'll remain at 6 preschool classrooms. But then by the 2024-2025 school year, we have a plan to grow to a total of 9 preschool classrooms, which will have a capacity to serve 170 preschool students in that community. Okay, so what you see here is a preliminary rendering of the Gilbert Early Childhood Center. This design is still very fluid as we're in the early stages and of course could change as we get further along in the process. But we have some pictures we'd like to show you on the next few slides, which include examples of the vision for the outdoor space. So you see the courtyard that's in the middle. The campus really... I'm not as good at just He's had more practice. He's had more practice. So the Gilbert Early Childhood Center campus really does lend itself to a nice outdoor courtyard space that we have some plans for. We're going to show you in just a minute. And then we're also going to walk through some visions we have for other areas like hallways. The images represent the feel that we are really going after, but as with this overall design, we do know that they could change or evolve as we continue to plan.
All right, so now I get to the fun slides. Yeah. So this is the outdoor play space, or a vision of the outdoor play space, which will be in the existing courtyard on the Gilbert campus. And this natural feel will invite creativity, play, and exploration. Unlike the image shown here, we will incorporate more shade to be sure to protect students from the blazing South Carolina sun and other elements. And that was something that somebody I ran this presentation by suggested I mention, Dr. Little. But we do.
I mean, to be fair, can you imagine a kid jumping on that slide in August at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes.
What would happen?
I can't.
I
But
was
the
already
feel,
thinking about
I want you to
taking it.
come with me to the feel of a very organic, natural space where students are not bound by traditional play equipment, but instead have the opportunity to create and innovate and use the natural environment around them to enhance their play. The second image, and again, I'm sorry about the glare of this, see the blazing sun again, but this was actually not taken in South Carolina, but instead in Austin, Texas. But this image shows a classroom backyard which safely extends the classroom beyond the 4 walls and allows for outdoor learning experiences. And in our design proposal, we have suggested a backyard for all classrooms. And that really allows students to freely go inside and out, of course, safely. You'll see there is a confined area. But it also it allows for a very different learning experience than what can happen within the 4 walls of a traditional classroom. And then the Gilbert campus has wonderful breezeways that are premier areas to add design elements such as color and texture to extend learning beyond the classroom. So this is an image that we are using to guide some of the architectural plans to show how the breezeways that are already part of the Gilbert campus can be enhanced and used to add some design elements and as well as learning experiences. And then interactive hallways, which is a really neat concept shown here, which will allow, provide opportunity to allow learning to happen in every student space. And again, the Gilbert campus has wonderful hallways that are just, really prime for having some interaction up and down those hallways for our preschool students to have learning experiences, whether they're in the classroom, whether they're out in the outdoor play space, or whether they're walking up and down the halls with their classmates or in small groups or coming to and from different services that they may be having provided.
See, Erica had the fun stuff. So to talk about the immediate budget impact of the Early Childhood Center design, the funds provided by the 2018 bond referendum allow for selective demolition and the repurposing of the remaining space. However, as we conceptualize the possibilities of the Early Childhood Center, there will likely be additional budget considerations proposed. The ideas shared thus far go well beyond the demolition and general repurposing and will require significant changes. However, we feel strongly that we must do this right the first time and do it based on research, and also what we feel will provide Lexington 1 preschool students with the best experience possible.
So as we conclude our update for this evening, and again, we'll come back at another time to provide the same information for the Pillion Early Childhood Center, we just wanted to remind you of our next steps in this project. And one is to engage the Gilbert community in the 2 ways that we outlined on a slide previous. We will also continue to work with the architects to design and develop renderings of the Gilbert Early Childhood Center. And a little further down the road, we will finalize the building design and begin renovations of the previous Pillion Middle School campus. So with that, we will end the update officially and open the floor to any questions that you may have for us.
You know, with regard to you had hit on the special education, and I can tell you from where I sit in my office, the community needs for identification, testing, evaluation for kids with pervasive developmental disorders, it's astronomical right now, and unfortunately, the timeline is just not good. You know, with like USC Developmental Clinic, we're on a 9-month to 12-month time frame, and so, you know, with us knowing the importance of that 2-year, 3-year, 4-year-old, you know, not only do I think that space design is important, but those budgetary considerations for testing and evaluation, psychologists, those kind of things. I mean, that's really what we're seeing in the community. And so obviously any help that can be provided there, I think, is a win for the community. And furthermore, with I think the term for that, is that a biophilic design when they look at?
Or there's another term I'm going to teach you, resi-mercial.
Oh, okay, okay.
Where you take the residential and commercial and combine it.
Yep. So I went to a session on that, and it was really surprising the low cost that can be accomplished of doing that, and the huge gains you get, because they were taking 3-, and 4-, and 5-year-olds with autism and measuring heart rates and things like that, and just by walking into those environments, I mean, just staggering statistics on how that's lowered, and obviously, you know, contributes to overall health and well-being of the child. So, no, it's definitely a need in the community from where we sit.
So Dr. Atten, thank you. And we really focused on building design, but staffing, to your point, OT, PT, psychologists, social work, all of that is definitely part of the instructional plan and the staffing proposal that we're going to make for the Early Childhood Center. So that is definitely on our radar. And Jessica's working closely with our special ed preschool coordinator to make sure those programs become more aligned, are more inclusive, and that we have early intervention in place for all of those students. And I'm very proud of your terminology when you're talking about the feel and the environment and how much that matters. And just for example, cost savings, you mentioned that play space that I showed. You would not, well, you probably would believe because you're probably part of the decision making, but that typical playground equipment that we put in our school spaces costs a fortune. And we can really do a lot with repurposed materials. Tires are, you know, things that we can bring in that kids can climb on and crawl through, and that don't necessarily have to be metal and pre-bought, pre-fabric fashioned. We can do a lot with the environment and work with people who can talk to us about upcycling and recycling and all of those things. So I think it's a really amazing concept, and it could be a huge cost savings. But we are looking at grants and community partnerships to be the other piece of the funding, as well as the budget implications and budget requests will bring forth to general fund budget and capital fund budget.
To Dr. Bissell's point, you know, you hear people say the child would rather play with the box that the toy came in than the actual toy itself. And that's really a big driver of the focus behind the professional learning we've been doing with our preschool teachers around play and around just everyday items and how they can create with those and innovate versus, you know, actually fixed items of what came in the box, right? So that's really a big push behind our design and our programming.
So I would have one request for consideration. We've talked about the space and the capital. Again, that's peanuts compared to the operational costs and the staffing FTEs that this eventually will mature into, which again, I think this board wants to support. But obviously, this is another step for this board of educating our community and additional infrastructure and cost. So I would ask that we consider some level of a compact with these parents, because obviously parents and that, you know, 0 through 5 affects their kids more than anyone else in the world. That starts to evaporate and then dissolves, you know, when they turn 18. But I think if we can get parents who we agree mutually that their kid would benefit from this program to also agree through a compact or some type of structure that they will read with their children every night for 30 minutes, that they will A, B, and C, healthy habits that we know will improve that kid's educational trajectory, and then actually hold them accountable, make them self-report their reading, similar to their students get grades. The parents self-report, yeah, I read 30 minutes with my kid tonight. I think that will multiply our investment as a board in these children who are at risk. So just something for consideration, a compact with those parents.
Appreciate that suggestion. Thank you.
Well, and that, Dr. Powers, that kind of, one of the questions I wrote to myself during your presentation was, and I'm sure that y'all are doing this because y'all are always 100 steps ahead of where my thinking is, but working with the resources that we have at the Parenting Center that are already doing those sorts of mentoring to parents, because I think that's going to be a big part, like Dr. Powers said, of you know, assisting parents in making this successful for their children.
So as we talked about our next steps with involving the Gilbert community, it's going to be reaching out and finding community partners, but also talking about what the needs of the community are so that we can bring what we're doing at the Parenting Center out into the Gilbert community, out into the Pillion community, so that if transportation's an issue or the services that aren't what they need, we will know that, and then we can provide better services, more services, differentiated services, whatever it is that the community needs. So that's why we really need to do the outreach piece this spring to find out what it is that will bring value to a parenting or family engagement center alongside the early childhood center. And to Dr. Powers' point was, my child is growing, I can be growing as a parent, as a guardian, as a family member. And then also to that point is reaching out to our daycare centers and our other early learning partners to make sure that we all are going after the same thing and that we're learning and growing together, rather than seeing this as a competition for funding, because I mean they have a charge for their programs, but instead having a collaboration. And we actually started doing a lot of that a little quicker than we had anticipated with the pandemic, but it's been a good thing. And to Mr. Stacy's point, a lot of things we're doing now, we probably should have been doing all along, and we will continue to do post COVID-19.
There may be other people in this room that are as excited as I am about this, but there's no one in this room more excited than I am about this. Several years ago, we visited the Early Childhood Development Center in District 4 and talked with Dr. Linda Lavender when she was there, and that was kind of her baby. And that is an amazing facility, and what we saw there, I mean, it looks to me that we're going to far surpass that, and this is exciting, and I just hope that the community really appreciates what we're offering here. This is big, big, and thank you, and we're really looking forward to updates.
I just have a couple of comments. Y'all mentioned collaboration. That was a great idea. I know y'all mentioned that during the last meeting, and I mean, I would have never thought of that. But that's great that y'all work with the surrounding daycares. Will this be a tuition-based program? Has any thought been put? It will not be. Okay.
So the Gilbert Early Childhood Center will all be needs-based programs.
Needs-based. Okay. And you mentioned transportation. Is that going to be provided?
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
For the students.
For the students, yes.
And now, but if we were to see that there was a need for the community to have some sort of transportation, that definitely could be something we could explore. But students will have transportation from, and it'll be to the center. So some districts around, they will send them to their home school and then transport that over to early childhood center. It'll be direct transport. The early childhood center will be their home school.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Any other questions? Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate.
both very much.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Tremendous.
Is that everything?
That is all that I have, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you.